Join us at Your Own University. Like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. You're not going to want to miss a bit of this.
All right, hello. Welcome, everyone. This is the first recording of an ongoing conversation that Lisha and myself have been having since 2000. And it's been revamped, especially in the past year plus. Now, I said Lisha is this amazing woman's name here. And my name is GEMS. It's an acronym. It puts a lot of names together, and that's part of the point. So without going into it, there are GEMS. As you'll notice, Jason, for example, is the J. So that's my given birth first name. And I leave it like that for multiple reasons, but one is that people from different parts of my life who know me as different versions of my name can continue using those as is comfortable for them. So in a way, it's a way to be accommodating, but respectful also of just trying to have my friends be my friends and be who they are and be comfortable and not have to switch anything around on my account. In any case, so today we're going to introduce our most obvious common ground. And when I say our, I mean Lisha and myself. And that common ground in its material form is you, which is your own university. And your own university is a form of a conversation that I'd like to just look at my notes and describe to you. And that's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to even read a part of my notes. And then I'm going to tell you all a quote that I'm sure some of you have heard at some point. It was a Joaquin Phoenix acceptance speech to some award he won. I thought it was very raw, real, authentic, qualities that I value. And I think it helps drive home the point that I'm about to try to make. So let me look at my notes here. All right. So I was just trying to lay out, what is this about? What are we doing here? Step by step, I was trying to lay this out linearly to make sense of it and to be able to follow it and to be able to use it as a reference. Because life really is boundless, has no boundaries. By some standards, people could say, or at least in some forms, utterly chaotic. And really, the making sense of it is what each of us does, right? In our own way, as who we are. And this is what my notes are in this particular instance. So the first most important thing I figured is, or the most valuable, rewarding, but really valuable thing is to be able to give to others, but authentically, like in a way that fills you up too. And this will already be like a conversation piece in one of our podcasts, I'm sure. And these little notes that I'll pause about, like that one, will come up and we'll probably shoot off into different podcasts over time. But now the synopsis, the summary, and this really to me seemed like the most important thing, right, is giving to others. But in order to give to others effectively, you have to know yourself. And, to be of use is the point. But it's not, okay, so know yourself, great. What does that mean? I mean, that's a huge, you use whatever expression you want, can of worms, huge fish to fry, put your own, expression there that you prefer. But here are some reasons, here are some highlights of why, as you already know, as you're a human being, knowing yourself is not necessarily that easy. If you've thought about knowing yourself yet, maybe this is your first inception or conception rather of that, and that's fantastic. And I wholeheartedly and so warmly say, welcome to that world, because there are people who don't need to know themselves super well. What they're doing works really well, and they have fulfilling, beautiful, happy lives that honestly I'm often quite envious of. But if you want to know yourself, you're in the right place. So this conversation continues. So here are three ways that I see it as the fact of being a human being is complex. One is that the ground beneath us is moving at all times. So like the ground's always moving beneath our feet. That is life. And if you look to, for example, the I Ching, I'm sure I'm not pronouncing it right. It's the Chinese book of wisdom, the original one. So I would roughly say, not being a scholar myself, I'd say it's roughly analogous to the Bible or the Torah or the Quran, for examples. And the ground's always moving beneath the feet is the point. The whole book it's called the Book of Changes is the point. So it's all about change. Here you go. Here's our wisdom for you. That's one thing. Another is that, we appear to have things moving for us all of the time, and that's tough, right? So not only is the ground moving beneath our feet, so we're wobbly, maybe not being able to see that ourselves, we we also can see things moving. We think it has direction, or we want it to go in a direction, but is it going in that direction? Maybe it's going in another direction. We plan this and it does that. And there's movement, but it's not always the way you need. But on the other hand, we have tendencies, right? We hold our form. We are recognizable to ourselves and to others as a particular definition or iteration of ourselves. And that really gets down to often, like, I don't know about you, but there are times I've seen often like, wow, this person's not changing. I'm not really changing. Like, I'm changing within the boundaries of who I am, but I'm always really who I am. And as much as I want to be something completely different, I mean, I don't necessarily, but if I did, or there are things I want that I don't have, that's for sure. And in that way, I could say be totally different. For the life of me, I can't figure it out yet, right? Certain things. So in that way, things don't change at all. So you have things changing all the time. You have things never changing, and you have beneath your feet things moving and changing and shifting way beyond you at all times, right? So here we are. So it's important to know who you are, and that's really the more you do, and the more you're comfortable in your own skin, so to speak, the more you can be of service to people, but in a way that you're meant to be, which is a part of our point here at U as well. So, and I'll say also, the last person that we're clear on usually is ourselves. So I'm going to just take a few more moments here that are not in my notes, and then I'm going to read my last thing. But there's a little parable or story. I'm sure, I imagine you know this, Lisha. I'm not totally sure. So I haven't told this anecdote since about 2005. So let's see if I remember it properly. But basically, this is it. All right, there were two images, right? And so this being who's probably passed on from this life, this realm that we know, in the netherworld, or maybe in heaven, maybe not, can't figure it out, right? Or let's say there are two of them. There are two people, right? And they're both there in this place, right? And one of them sees it as utter hell. Because what does this person see? This person sees that every single person has like a stick bound to their arm where their elbow is, so they cannot move it. And on the end is food that they're desperately need. So they're starving, need this food, can't do anything about it. You know this one? Okay. And let's say there are two people in there. One of them sees this is utter hell. Like it's torture. Look, they're so close, but they can't do it. They're going to die. They're going to die, whatnot. And the other person sees it and has a spark. I'd say possibly is open to the possibility of having a spark, has a spark, luckily, occur within them, an idea. That is, why don't we feed each other? So that's my little anecdote to bring this point home. We need each other. Okay, so in short, knowing yourself is a subtle and complex enough process that it warrants some effort, organization, reflection, etc., enough to warrant organizing into realms or categories. For example, body, mind, energy, relations, and legacy. And these are my favorite terms for these realms, and we'll use different names. And there's some wisdom, probably from the yogic reservoir of wisdom, where it's something called the five sheaths, the five bodies, and we'll certainly talk more about that. Both Lish and myself have been yoga asana teachers, meaning the yoga teachers you would think of as yoga teachers. I think of it a little differently, and I'll get into that later. In any case, that's a part of you as well. So we organize what we do around these zones or realms or categories. And this is something that excites me really to no end. I'm a super dork, I guess you could say, around this subject of the five zones, categories, bodies, sheaths, because for me, life is not simple, certainly colorful, can be beautiful. And there's no way that it's covered without these different realms, these different categories. I mean, if you think about it, even just thinking of spirit for some people is like they don't really do that. Like there's no room for that. Or something else, like there's no room for energy. What's this energy? I believe in God, but energy between us, like what? For me, no, it's complex. So we need at least these five categories within which to organize our lives and make sense of things. Okay, I'm getting there, almost done. So you is a place for this. It's a place for us to process together and to find or make something of what's found therein. So along the way, we'll try to be figuring things out, and we'll be wanting to make sense of it, like almost as an art form. I mean, it could be that way, or just because we want things to feel right or to be happy or whatever else it is. So we want to make something of it, and with an eye on inner voice as outer mission. So the point here is that as much as you want to be someone you're not, you really are who you are. And I really believe, and I think this is a part of you, I don't know, Lisha, that whatever your purpose is, however challenging that purpose is for you in your life path, or however easy it is for you, or whatever it is, you're not really going to be able to get away from it for long, maybe for years at a time, but you can't get past it. So it really is, and should be, because this is your time here, your mission. Or why not, right? At least I could say, if you're interested in making the stuff of what you already are into your expression of what that is in a fulfilling way, this is the point of this is what we're after. So it's got an eye, your university has an eye on inner voice as outer mission, with the hypothesis, I like to say hypothesis, I like to think of it this way, that we're meant to do what we're made of, which is what I was just describing, and that's the only dependable and lasting path, which is what I was just describing. And that path truly holds a rich trove of inherent rewards. So Lisha beautifully points out that when you know yourself, you right away, you have confidence. And I'll add to that, like, deep, unshakable, as much as things are moving and changing all the time. I'd hope, but I kind of think there is some rhythm and pattern and whatnot in there, at least as far as we're concerned, in terms of the larger cycles of things. And so when you are able to align with this, and this is Taoism, for example, the Tao, the way, it's also part of Sufism, I think, I'm not sure. Again, I'm not a scholar, but certainly the Tao is aligning with the way things are, that the way things are that's larger than us. This is what we're about. It's another way to look at it. And the rewards. So when you do align, you do feel right. You feel good. Right as rain, as I can't remember the character's name in The Matrix said, one of the wise characters. Right as rain. And perhaps the crown jewel being this confidence. So there's a rich treasure chest, or a trove of riches, in knowing who you are, in aligning with things, the larger things around you. And perhaps the gem, the crowning jewel of that is this confidence that Lisha points out beautifully, and I'm pontificating about right now. So my last 3 lines here are, how else can we ever dance or harmonize with the world in which we find ourselves? So again, you can try to be something you're not, but honestly, I just don't think it's going to work. I've been around some years. I'm certainly not the smartest or wisest person, but I do have some experience. I just don't think it's going to work to not just be who you are. I mean, it may, and we can get into multiple lifetimes and how long and what you're going to see when and all that, but that's yogic stuff. No need to get into that now. And so what we offer you is our process. And that's the process of your own university, but it's actually also the process of Lisha and I continuing to get to know one another. Because we've talked to each other a lot, and I've told Lisha probably everything I could think of. And yet human beings are complex and relationships deepen. And I feel like we're just getting to know each other for the first time now, once again. It's kind of like if you read a book, right? And it's a good book, and you read it once and you get some wisdom and whatnot, but then you read it again and you get all these different lessons. I mean, it never ends. So that's part of the point, is this is just a raw conversation. We really are we're still getting to know one another. We're getting to understand how we overlap, how we fit or don't fit, how we view things similarly or how we don't view things similarly. We do have major overlaps, which, like your own university probably being one of those. But we definitely have very different ways of looking at some things. Like, honestly, I'd say diametrically opposed, probably. And I look forward to getting into those. I'm personally scared. Lisha doesn't seem so scared. She's just pretty cool, calm cat. But I hope to get into that stuff too, because in the end, we want to work together, and people aren't the same. So one of the most beautiful things is two people who absolutely do not agree on certain things, working together.
Yeah.
So lastly, I'll say, so your own university is our process. It's us opening ourselves to that, for us to all try to learn something from it. It's a mixture of our missions, both varied and overlapped through this shared interest or vision. This is your own university. So thank you for letting me talk. You open the cage. I can't stop myself sometimes. It's probably supposed to be shorter than this, and I'll get shorter through time, maybe or maybe not, but I'll finally finally give the floor to Lisha. Whew.
Well, I think that is just a beautiful encompassment of what Your Own University is, what we stand for, your viewpoints on things, my viewpoints on things, the importance of getting to know ourselves. And everything is changing constantly. I'm changing constantly. And if I was trying to get it right or make myself know myself like I was making a table and it was going to be the same table forever and ever, then, and no one was going to be allowed to touch it, then that and sit at it or use a fork on it or accidentally slip a knife and jab it into the table, and create some tarnish, some marks, some imperfections, then that would be one thing. But that's not life. That's not life for a friggin' table or my desk here. It's definitely not life for human beings. And we're going to get tarnished and things are going to affect us, and they have been since the beginning of time. So to say, oh, I know that person or I know myself is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. As I change and as I grow, I change and I grow. Now, as I enter into this next phase of my life, as a woman, everything's changing. My body's changing. My mind's changing. My impact is changing. My kids are getting ready to leave the house. Like everything's different. And that's what Your Own University is about. And that's what you just said so beautifully. So this podcast is going to be us having these conversations about this change. And we hope that you join the conversation, that you listen, that you pose questions, that you jump on live with us when and if we do it live, that you feel welcomed at Your Own University, and you visit our website as well, that you learn about the love letters, the respect letters, the masterminds, the master classes, all the support that we have there for you, as well as on this podcast and on this station. And that's really it. So welcome, Gems and Lisha, to your life. We are so happy to be here and welcome you to ours. We are thrilled to have you here. And that's, about it. We are doing our best to keep these to about 10, 15 minutes, 20 tops. So you can listen as you drive, you can listen as you go places. And that is the course of this. So subscribe here on this channel so you can get notified when we do have our podcast. We are aiming for once a week. Fingers crossed, we will see how technology and all of this rolls together. And then join us for all the wonderful things happening at yourownuniversity.com. Get on our newsletter, join our master classes, and we'll see you on the inside.